Alright, hopefully everything is up and running. I realized I got halfway through this video and the audio wasn't working. Plus, I didn't like the take anyway, so it was no big deal. Anyways, what this video basically is, if you've managed to stumble on this video, is my personal mock draft for the NFL, for the 2014 NFL Draft that is coming up May 5th, sometime first Thursday of May. Well, will be the first round. And a couple things I want to say before I get started. The thing with mock drafts is people tend to disagree with mock drafts. I've seen my fair share of good mock drafts, and I've seen my fair share of bad mock drafts. But everyone is entitled to their opinion. And I would expect, hopefully, that people... I don't know why I expect people over the internet to have reasoning, but I wouldn't really bash anyone, because no mock draft is right and no mock draft is wrong, because that's the point of mock drafts, is kind of predicting stuff. And another thing with mock drafts is that I've kind of had this internal debate about, how do you set up a mock draft? Do you set up, if you put yourself in the shoes of the GMs of each team, what you need, or do you predict what those GMs are going to do? And I think with most mock drafts, it's a combination between the two. Because I'm sitting here why Detroit is saying they're really interested in Sammy Watkins, and I don't think he's going to fall that far to him anyways. But maybe that's a bad example. It's because they're talking about how Tampa Bay should get a linebacker. I don't agree with that, because I think they have Levante David and other linebackers that I think that they should go offensive line, just because it's more need. But maybe the GM for the Buccaneers isn't thinking that. I don't know what they're thinking, changing their logo and uniform to that piece of crap anyways. So who knows? It's stuff like that. That's just an example that I'm giving. It's where do you draw the line between predicting and what you think they should do? And with mine, that's a combination of the two. Because most of my mock draft is predicting, and some of it is me stepping in and kind of guiding the hand of what the franchise should do. So that's basically what my mock draft is going to be run down to. And I think I'm going to give 5 picks, the top 5 picks in this video, so it doesn't run too long. We're about 2.5 right now. Yeah, so I guess we'll get underway with the number 1 pick. The number 1 pick in the 2014 NFL Draft. Houston Texans select defensive end from South Carolina, Jadeveon Clowney. And Jadeveon Clowney at number 1 is a pretty popular pick among a lot of mock drafts. It just kind of depends on how you sit. If you think Houston really needs one of these quarterbacks, or if you don't think they do. I don't think they do, because I'm not a huge fan of the top prospects here. In this draft, I don't think any of them's going to be answered. They might be a serviceable quarterback for a couple years, but they're not going to solve a franchise's problem, especially Jacksonville or Houston's or Cleveland's. But yeah, if you have Jadeveon Clowney on one end, or convert him to an outside linebacker like Alden Smith, you have 2 young guys in J.J. Watt and Clowney just attacking and making a bad day for all quarterbacks, especially in the AFC South. That'll be really something to mess with. And if they go out, I don't think they're retaining Matt Schaub, and Case Keenum's not the answer. Even though I was a huge fan of Case Keenum while he was doing good, but he did fall off the map. If you go sign out a vet, or Chad Henne or Matt Castle, Josh McCown is another free agent this year. He'll be able to get you through the season and without playing terrible, they're throwing interceptions left and right like Matt Schaub was. But I think Jadeveon Clowney, if he puts in the work ethic, that's another thing. If he puts in the work ethic, he's going to be a phenomenal football player. Definitely the best player in this draft, as long as he's going 100%. So after the number 1 pick, we're going to go to number 2. The St. Louis Rams are picking at number 2, and I believe they will take offensive tackle Jake Matthews from Texas A&M. A lot of people are talking about Sammy Watkins going number 2. I haven't seen it as much recently as I did back in January and February. People are really pushing for that, and I'm they invested in Tavon Austin as a wide receiver in the first round last year, so you got him. He'll be a playmaker, but you need Sam Bradford needs to get him the ball, and the best way to do that is for them to strengthen on their offensive line. And I know they got there's a Long on the offensive. Maybe I'm like completely wrong. I know there's Chris Long as the defensive end. I swear, did they sign Jake Long too, or was he originally on the? I don't know. Anyway, Jake Matthews will be left tackle too to protect Bradford's blind side. But I honestly feel like offensive line is where they need to go rather than playmakers and off. They need to get the strength in their secondary as well because they released Cortland Finnegan yesterday, I think. Anyways, number 3 pick, the Jacksonville Jaguars. They will pick quarterback Teddy Bridgewater from Louisville. In my opinion, the best quarterback in this draft. Most athletic. I don't think he might not end up being the best because I have an unnamed person that I think is going to be a superstar if he gets put in the right system. Hopefully the Vikings, right there. But I'll tell that in a later video. But Teddy Bridgewater to the Jacksonville Jaguars, I think he's the most athletic and most NFL prepared. With Jacksonville, I think he'll turn him into the right direction. Is Gus Bradley, I think, is the coach down there. He's putting him in the right direction. He's got a good rah-rah attitude, I've heard. And he did coach one of the Senior Bowl teams along with Mike Smith. So Teddy Bridgewater didn't play in that game, but he's moving the Jacksonville Jaguars in the right direction. That's something that hasn't been said since like 2007. But yeah, Teddy Bridgewater, I think easily the best quarterback in this draft, and I think Jacksonville would be wise to either pick Bridgewater or someone on the defensive side of the ball. We're going to go to number 4 now, which is the Cleveland Browns. Now, this is my second mock draft I've made so far this year. I usually do one about every 2 weeks. And I have the Cleveland Browns at number 4 picking Blake Bortles. And now here's the thing. Here's what I was talking about earlier, where you predict what they're going to do. Where you're talking about when you're making a mock draft, are you supposed to predict what they're do, or are you supposed to pick what they should do? With this, I'm basically predicting what the Browns, I feel like, are picking a quarterback in the first round. I think that is a safe assumption to say, even though Brian Hoyer played well before he tore his ACL. I know that was only like a 2-game sample, but I saw him in real life when I went to the Minnesota-Cleveland game last year, and he made me sad and angry. Anyways, it's the Cleveland Browns thing to do to pick a quarterback in the first round to add on like that huge list of quarterbacks they've had since 2000s, like 30-something. But Blake Bortles, I had originally in my original draft taking Johnny Manziel, but the reason why I switched it is because they've openly said that they are not really pursuing Manziel. That was more of Rob Chudzinski and Jimmy Haslam's idea to get Manziel. But Blake Bortles, I'm not convinced. I think Blake Bortles is going to be an absolute train wreck in the NFL. I don't think it's going to work out for him. Maybe it will. I don't know. He's 6'5", 250 or something like that. Like he's like Ben Roethlisberger size, which is nice. Size is always nice. He's got a big arm. He's only a junior out of UCF, and is only like people only started talking about him halfway through the college season, and they go on win the Tostitos Bowl, I think, against Baylor. Or maybe it was the Sugar Bowl. I don't know. It was one of the major bowls. I just don't. If he would have stayed one more year at UCF, then maybe I'll give him a little bit of credibility, but not convinced that he's going to turn out, and it'll be a very Cleveland Browns thing if that's the case. Because they picked Brandon Weeden 2 years ago. Can't remember who they picked last year, but yeah, they'll still be searching for a quarterback after whoever they pick this year. Moving on to the Cleveland Browns, number 5. What is number 5? The Oakland Raiders. Now, it's a very interesting pick for the Oakland Raiders. I want to believe that they've shed the Al Davis kind of mindset of just drafting the fastest players, because obviously that has not worked out. Darren McFadden is a free agent. He's not going to be at Oakland. Denarius Moore was another fast player. Darius Hayward-Bay. I mean, these are like fast guys, but they're not good football players. So In my original one, I had Sammy Watkins going to them, which still is that is like an extreme possibility. But I had to get rid of this name somewhere high. There's no way that I feel like this guy is going to drop out of the top 5, and his name is Johnny Manziel. And if you thought I did not like Blake Bortles, Johnny Manziel takes the cake right here. Just not a huge fan. He's too undersized. People just, I've never liked the guy even before. He had all like this like rumors of like him signing autographs for money and all like going to like frat parties and like cursing and like doing all this crap. He's just not. He is not like. He's kind of like a bad boy, but I don't know. Just not. I don't think he's going to transition to the NFL well. His playmaking skill is unbelievable. That play against Duke, and I don't even know what bowl. I always get them mixed up. Was phenomenal, and like that fumble where he caught it against Alabama 2 years ago. It was great. He was a great college player. You can not deny that fact. His stats speak for himself. But going into the NFL, there's going to be defensive linemen that are just as fast as him, if not faster, and a lot bigger. He's like 6 foot, and I don't know how much he weighs, but that type of scrambling, I mean, Tony Romo does it, but Tony Romo doesn't do it all the time. He has to improvise because the Cowboys suck. But Manziel, going to the Raiders, it seems like what the Browns, it's like an Oakland Raiders move, like this fast, flashy player that I think will just wow the crowd, and that'll be an answer. So that's another case where I'm predicting what the Raiders would do. If I were in the Raiders position, I would pass on Manziel. I would pass on Manziel a lot. Like, I don't think I would touch him if I was a GM, to be completely honest. I'm a little more conservative though when it comes to like I don't know. It's just I'm not the only quarterback I'm really convinced in this draft is Teddy Bridgewater and another unnamed prospect that I'll probably say later. But anyways, that concludes my top 5. I'll run it down again. Houston at number 1 picks Jadeveon Clowney. Number 2, the St. Louis Rams pick offensive tackle Jake Matthews. Number 3, the Jaguars pick Teddy Bridgewater, quarterback. Number 4, Blake Bortles goes to the Cleveland Browns. And number 5, Johnny Manziel goes to the Oakland Raiders. So that's 3 quarterbacks, 1 defensive end, 1 offensive tackle. Really, I feel like that's a very realistic top 5. Of course, it'll probably be all topsy-turvy because you don't know who Houston's going to pick. It's crazy. But in my next video, which I'll probably do tomorrow, I'll probably make it a daily thing. Maybe 5, like I'll do 5 picks for the top 15, and then maybe I do 10 and 12 or something like that for the next 2 videos. Since I don't have to do an introduction tomorrow, I'll be able to like jump right into it, maybe talk about it more. This is just past the 13-minute mark. I'm going to cut it off here. If you actually paid attention to like this long video of someone you don't even know just talking about football, really appreciate it. If you want to subscribe, I want to do these more often. I've wanted to do like these type of YouTube videos for a long time, so I think the best way to do it, start doing them. That's what I'm doing right now. So thank you again, and I should see you all tomorrow.